I know a lot of you are pretty excited about the new Sly Cooper game, Thieves in Time.
We don't need a bobblehead. We don't need a screenshot of him coming through a fucking portal so morons can speculate, oh, what does this mean? Means nothing! Sucker Punch and Sanzaru should create a Sly Cooper themed dildo so the fan base can actually fucking insert it so they can physically feel what these companies have done to us instead of just metaphorically feeling it. Enough with this fucking horse shit!
I'm back, and I'm about to be 30. I've been talking about Sly Cooper online for the better part of the past 17 years as someone who really isn't much of a gamer at all and really not much of a nerd for things like video games, anime, comic books, cartoons, or you name it. But when it comes to Sly Cooper, I just can't get enough. So now I'm back to put the Sly Cooper community on full alert. I'm looking to start some shit, and I'm looking to offend quite a few of you. I'm just joking, guys. I'm old news. And if you're tuning in, you may have no clue who I am to begin with, but you might want to know a little bit about this if you are a fan of Sly Cooper, and if you do, just Google it. Anyway, well, I try to never prey on anybody's downfall because it's not a good spiritual practice, but for their crimes against my favorite video game franchise of all time, Sanzaru Games has finally wound up exactly where the fuck they belong, out of business. For good. If I am to give myself a nerdy humble brag moment, one of the things I was a pioneer of on the internet back in the day was being one of the first to point out, loudly I might add, that Sanzaru Games destroyed Sly Cooper. This has always been a passionate issue for me because Sly Cooper may be one of my, if not my single favorite characters of all time. He exists only in 3 games from 20 years ago that only have a small cult following. We got one chance at a revival, and it was handed off to these fucking hacks that butchered it in every way humanly possible. My heart bleeds for the fact that we will never get another Sly Cooper game with proper intentions, that these morons handled it and distorted every aspect of what makes these games interesting, enticing, and fun to play, and that's how it all went down. Like, literally, sometimes I just stop in my tracks and I think, fuck, this really happened. To me, the thing is unplayable. I can't even sit through it as a guilty pleasure because it's so fucking horrible. But this was it. This is the only other addition to the series that's been created since 2006. And, man, does it pain me to my fucking soul. Though this is not always a popular thing to express because Sly Cooper fans are sort of strange. They sort of defend the series in its entirety, whereas if you're just speaking badly about Thieves in Time, which is not like shit talk, it's expressing that, hey, you ruined my fucking childhood. This was my childhood. I don't give a fuck about your childhood. You didn't mind your childhood being ruined, or you don't see it as your childhood being ruined because you're just like, hey, anything Sly Cooper is good for me. What's good for the goose is good for the fuck you. This shit ruined my childhood. And I had a fuck childhood as it is. My parents were fucked up. The only thing I had was Sly Cooper. Now I'm getting a little bit older. They're talking about making another one. They hand it off to these geeks that fucking ruin everything that's great about it. It hurts my soul. So actually, I'm really not talking shit or challenging a community. I'm just expressing myself. Allow me to do that. I've been saying this shit since I was 15 years old. I was talking about this when the very first announcement hit the internet, and actually, from my recollection, I may very well be the first person ever to come out and say, this looks like it's gonna fucking blow. Now, I remember it specifically because I was young, I was just getting my feet wet in terms of internet content, and the community was not happy. Sly Cooper fans hurled abuse my way for saying this, but in the time since, it seems to actually have been generally accepted that most people found the game similarly horrific to what the fuck I've been saying for all these years, as we can see in this interview with Kevin Miller, where the gentleman interviewing him actually says,
what are your thoughts on the such polarizing takes on this game?
Yeah, I mean, growing up in the era of Star Wars as I did, I'm not unfamiliar with this. You know, we waited, 13 years for Phantom Menace to come around, and that's a polarizing film for sure. And, maybe nowadays it's not as polarizing as the latest trilogy or where Star Wars is, but at the time, it was definitely like, wait, what just happened? So I get it, I understand that we had expectations that the franchise was going to go this way, and then a different team kind of took it in a direction maybe we weren't expecting.
And Kevin Miller answers to this like a politician answering a pressing issue. He very diplomatically breaks down why he thinks this wasn't everybody's cup of tea, which is really kind of interesting. He's not in any position where he needs to do that. He was just a voice actor. You know, matter of fact, most of the voice actors that were in Sly Cooper just took it as a gig, and I've Googled some of them. Most of them are like directors and producers now, and that was sort of just like a give me my money, let me voice this character and forget about it sort of thing. But Kevin Miller is front and center as like the spokesperson for why Thieves in Time didn't suck dick, though, like the gentleman that's interviewing him pointed out, a lot more YouTube content creators that make gaming content, specifically Sly Cooper content, over the years have come out with their retrospectives in detail breaking down why this game was such a disappointment. I honestly will never understand Kevin Miller's undying allegiance to Sly Cooper. Not that I don't have the same thing. I'm probably a bigger Sly Cooper fan than this guy. I got the Claw Gang tattoo on my chest. Claw Gang for life. You know? I hop into bed with women, we get naked, and they're like, what is that? I'm like, it's a fictional gang symbol. If you don't like it, leave. It's from a PlayStation 2 game. I am who I am. Let's see Kevin Miller do that. But anyway, I mean, really, I don't understand why he doesn't feel more like Mark Hamill when he had to do the Disney Star Wars sequels. You know, franchises have bad sequels. I don't understand this allegiance to every game in its entirety where we must not question the gospel, like we're talking about Christ himself. I don't understand that. There are so many different voice actors, directors, filmmakers, producers who often get asked like, hey, how about that sequel you did to this beloved franchise that really didn't hit with the fans? And they're like, you know, they usually reflect and assess, this is probably why it didn't land. It sucked cock from the writing to the execution. None of us were really in it. None of us were really there. We didn't give it our all. And here's Kevin Miller just like, I really think it's just there was a big time gap. There was a lot of expectation. I don't understand this. It's okay to admit that a sequel blew because it happens all the time, and it doesn't mean that you're criticizing the integrity of the solid trilogy that came before it because it wasn't developed by jackasses. And it was actually fucking good. Kevin Miller's performance in Thieves in Time, God bless him, is still one of the factors of what destroyed the fucking thing in the first place.
Hey, Carmelita! Oh, funny meeting you here.
Yeah, Kevin Miller gives voice acting coaching lessons and teaches a workshop on it. And he may be able to teach you how to be poised in terms of voiceover. Just voiceover. But clearly not about how to maintain the essence of a character. Because when you play a character like this, it really is like playing a character. It's not just like voicing a character. There is a continuity to who that character is, what his vibe is, and how he talks. Even though it's just voice acting, that this is a franchise character. So to have no consistency and to jump from actually having a naturalistic tone, which is really more like acting than voiceover, to just being like a enthusiastic tone version of an expression of Sly Cooper. Hey, Karma, yo. What I've always wanted to know is if it was his fault. I've always wanted to know if there was somebody actually directing from Sanzaru, because none of them are the brightest tools in the fucking shed of the gaming community, and was like tapping in and like, hey, Kev, could you give us a little bit more enthusiasm? See, I've done plenty of voiceover, radio, television, things like that, and I love when they give me the chance to actually act, even though it's just voice acting. Because like in my films, acting is naturalistic.
It's just old, and it's falling apart, and honestly, just, I wish I could afford a better place, and I can't.
Danny, seriously, you don't have to impress me. You make do with what you have.
Yeah, but I'm getting tired of just making do.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter to me.
Chocolate Daddy's reign of terror on these hoes has only just begun.
I'm gonna do some digging around and find out everything I can about this Chocolate Daddy. If his plans involve putting more hoes in harm's way, this won't be the last he's hearing from me.
That's the way Sly Cooper was performed. Albeit it was just voice acting, Sly is almost improper voice acting in the first game. There is no enthusiasm. He just talks like a person, and they casted a person with a slick enough voice to carry a character who can have a naturalistic tone.
Ah, Carmelita. I haven't seen you since I gave you the slip in Bombay.
Which reminds me, you need to return the Firestone of India to its rightful owners.
And I was going to give it to you as a little token of my... Hey, that bazooka really brings out the color of your eyes.
I don't know how Kevin Miller forgot that and jumped to...
Carmelita! Are you all right?
I am. No thanks to you.
I should leave you in that cage after what you pulled, Sly Cooper.
I know. Look, I can explain everything.
What I hate about voiceover, which is whenever I turn something in and the producers get back to me and they're like, give it more enthusiasm, give it more enthusiasm. And I just now ask, if I ever do this, how corny do you want it? Because I'm great as the guy that's like, is your credit fucked? Are you struggling at home? Well, we have a way to help with that. That's perfect for my tone. I don't know why that's my perfect tone, but I've been casted so many times as the fucking goofball. Hey, come on down to Al's Warehouse where everything is 15% off. But all I can tell you is that's exactly how the fuck Sly was performed in Thieves in Time. And I don't know who's responsible for that. I've always wanted to know, but there's no reason for it. That's not who the character is. That character is, hey, Carmelita, funny running into you here. Granted, in the world of voiceover, that's considered flat. If I turn that into somebody, they'd be like, hey, that's too flat. There's not enough expression in it. But that's also how people talk. So maybe there's some sort of disconnect with voiceover acting versus acting on screen. If I was acting opposite a villain in a movie scene and I was like, you won't get away with this, I'll find you, that'd be considered terrible acting. But it might be considered voice acting with enthusiasm because you're just in front of a microphone in a booth, likely with a dickhead from Sanzaru Games going, oh, it's great. That's great. Wait, they're like Australian, right? I can't do an Australian accent. Good day, mate. Sly Cooper. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck was going on over at that production. All I know is Sylvester Stallone openly regrets Rocky V, Eddie Murphy openly regrets Beverly Hills Cop 3, Mark Hamill admittedly didn't like the Star Wars sequels that Disney made him be in, and here's everyone involved in Thieves in Time standing proudly on it with no regrets through the years. Actually, real shit, I don't mean to call out Kevin Miller this personally, but it shows you don't really care about the fans. See, all the people that were ever involved in a shitty sequel to a beloved franchise ultimately usually come out in interviews and say, God, yeah, we really dropped the ball on that one, in honor of the fans and how they felt let down by that sequel. Because the reverse response is to say, fuck what you feel. This was for me. It wasn't for you. It was for us. Think about it. We're the consumers, and we weren't happy. I'm not saying you got to give a damn public apology like it was a fucking racist slip up in public, but I mean to acknowledge to the fans that, yeah, yo, we got to keep it a buck. We really didn't, we just didn't do it like we did the others. And I wish I could have gone back, or I hope we have another opportunity in the future to correct it with another sequel. There's just nothing. These people are all just proud as fuck. Yup, they time traveled. And we liked it. I've always had two major curiosities about Thieves in Time. One, where did Sanzaru Games possibly come up with this new dumb-looking Sly Cooper, who looks nothing like the original model of Sly Cooper in the PS2 games? Albeit I understand it was next-gen, but that doesn't mean he needs to look fucking stupid. He does. I never liked the way he looks nothing like, both in the comic scenes that are sort of the cut scenes that are comic book inspired and in the gameplay. He looks nothing the way he always looked. So that spark of familiarity with a nostalgia sequel wasn't there in that respect. And I've also always wondered how Kevin Miller stands by this product so proudly. And recently, I had a horrible epiphany that gave me an answer to both questions. It's obvious that even though Kevin Miller is just the voice actor for Sly Cooper, he really feels like he is Sly Cooper. And it's also obvious that Sanzaru Games didn't use Sly 3 as inspiration for how to design the characters. They came up with their own design of the characters. Well, look at this. I can't believe I never realized this, but dog, they modeled Sly Cooper in Sly Thieves in Time after Kevin Miller himself. Tell me that's not Kevin Miller as an anthropomorphic raccoon. Look at the fucking eyes. I always wondered, where did this new goofy facial expression that Sly has comes from? They modeled the fucking fake fictional raccoon after the human being that voices him. Like, dog, the realizations get worse and worse every time I revisit the rabbit hole of how fucked up this game is. So if you never realized it, there's a new one for you. If you ever wondered why Sly looks nothing the way he did in the original trilogy, it's because they thought it was appropriate to model the character after the human being that voices him. And that seems to make sense. If you're a fucking knucklehead that works for Sanzaru Games, they're like, well, Kevin Miller does voice him. Like that has anything the fuck to do with anthropomorphic animals, but, that's why you guys are out of fucking business, because you never made anything good. You got your hands on one good IP one time and destroyed it, and it hurts me to this day because the game fucking sucks so badly. Sometimes I think, let me pop it in the fucking PlayStation and just give it an honest chance, but there's no honest chance you could give something that's so asinine. It's so upsetting to me. And to make matters worse, you know what completely slipped past me over the years? PlayStation Move Heroes. I don't know why I never looked into this. Probably because it seemed like one of those party games, which it essentially is, right? Like, it's not a platformer. It's not one of those point A to B games. It's sort of like you can play as different characters and little mini missions, and I have no interest in something like that. Also, my friend told me you got to play it with like a PlayStation version of like the gun that comes with the fucking Nintendo, and I have no interest in that either. So I remember seeing a cutscene or two back in the day and being like, that's cute, it's cool. It's really the first Sly Cooper related game that came out since Sly 3, but I just had no interest in it because it wasn't an actual full-length Sly Cooper game. I revisited this recently and was like, oh my god, properly redesigning his graphics to fit PS3, but not totally remodeling him to look like a mixture of Kevin Miller and who the fuck else knows what. Was this easy? PlayStation Move Heroes. Look at how beautiful Sly looks on the PS3. It was this simple. I don't even know who the fuck developed this, but they got it right on the first try. It is gorgeous. The cutscenes are perfect. The gameplay is perfect. You have no idea how much it pains me that Sly Cooper Thieves in Time exists instead of a Sly game that looks just like this. Fuck, this looks excellent. And it was this simple. This is naturally always what I imagined Sly Cooper would look like on the PS3 if we ever got a PS3 Sly Cooper game. And obviously so did the first developer to fucking touch Sly Cooper since Sucker Punch. It just seems like a matter of having common sense. You look at the fucking trilogy, how would this look on PS3 as opposed to PS2? Probably similar to PS2 with updated graphics. The end. Sly is the exact distance from the screen that he's supposed to be. He's the exact size that he's supposed to be. He has the exact look, just touched up for PS3. And oh, motherfuck, for all the crying and begging for Sanzaru when they were still in business to make another Sly Cooper game, or for Sucker Punch, who doesn't give a fuck about Sly Cooper anymore, to make a return to the franchise, we should have been asking this developer, please make another Sly Cooper. I gotta research who did this. I don't even know. Nihilistic Games. Yo, I would say the word is right in letters to nihilistic. You gotta be fucking shitting me. Was an American video game developer. Yeah, they closed down too. Motherfuck. Yeah, forget it. This franchise is cursed. Sucker Punch never wants to make another game. Sanzaru wanted to when they were still in business, but there weren't enough profits to justify it because their last attempt at a Sly game was such a sorry fucking excuse for a product. Nihilistic Games is the only company to port Sly Cooper over to next gen with honor and class, and they're long gone. Kevin Miller's just happy they modeled Sly after his actual face and doesn't give a fuck about anything else. I also want to thank Sanzaru for tarnishing Sly's image altogether for the time being, because after Thieves in Time, there was PlayStation Battle Royale, which featured Sly Cooper. Since Sanzaru set the new standard for how Sly looks on PS3, he looks like a fucking jackass in that game too.
Oh, this is what I imagined Sly was like. Like, had you asked, I thought it looked like that, but it didn't. It looked like it does in Sly 4.
Just to be clear, I don't mean to actually be hurtful towards Kevin Miller. If I could actually sit with that man and talk with him, I would probably weep. I wouldn't be confrontational. I would just, man to man, heart to heart. You don't know what this franchise meant to me. And my soul is still reeling from Thieves in Time. I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic. When I think back on this incident, which is what it was an incident, like a fucking car accident. It's like a bad dream. I'm like, they really revived my favorite franchise that no one ever thought would get a revival to shit all over it. It hurts. Yeah, I'm being totally sincere, guys. You know, I don't think of myself as a nerd because I've really only beaten 3 video games in my life. The only video game I have passion for is Sly Cooper. And I could give a fuck. I could go 6-7 months without playing a video game. But when it comes to this fucking franchise, you get me rolling on it, and I turn into this. I don't even know how it happens. It's passion, though. It's passion. I love Sly Cooper like I love Rocky, like I love Terminator, like some people love Star Wars. But you know what? When they make a Star Wars movie that sucks, it's always sort of acknowledged. It's always like, I don't really think that's what the fans wanted and shit. Even the cat that played Darth Vader, I think, came out and was like, dude, it was tough doing those prequels because the fans didn't seem receptive. And that hurt because we feel like maybe we did them a disservice. That is the exact consideration creators are supposed to have when handling a franchise towards the fans. You don't ruin a fucking franchise with a sequel and be like, well, I liked it, worked for me. The people that got paid off of it, not the people that had to pay money to fucking play it. And, it's not like it was that expensive, but damn, I could have used that towards a different game that might have brought me nostalgic joy. Anyway, I'm Save-A-Hoe, and, this gets more depressing the older I get. And I'm 30 now, so I'm also dealing with the fact that this is going to be with me my whole life. That I am a nerd, so that this does bother me to my fucking soul, and it's not going anywhere, so I'll probably be dealing with this at 40. Well, I'll speak to you guys then.